We're living in a time of prophecy and a time of reckoning, when our world is changing really dramatically, as I'm sure you're aware, both between what's going on in the human world and also what's going on with the earth herself. And human design has its own version of a prophecy of this time, and it's called the prophecy of 2027. And here we are in 2026. And we've been moving with this change for quite a long time. It's not going to just all of a sudden change next year, but we're in it now. We're in kind of the intensity of it, and the new incoming energy features a particular gate in the human design system, the gate 55, which is also being highlighted by the lunar eclipse that's coming up on the 27th or the 28th of August, depending on where you are in the world. So we're getting really a strong sense of what this is all about. And it's actually very auspicious when we know what it means and we know how to work with it. So I'm excited today to give you some in-depth understanding about what's going on with that gate 55 and how this lunar eclipse is revealing what might be coming for us in that prophecy of 2027. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if you're new here, I'm Maggie Ostara. I'm a sovereignty mentor and a human design expert, and I have a very large library of videos on my YouTube channel, deep dives in human design education. So if you want to know more about human design, I really encourage you to go and check out the playlist that I have on my channel, because you can get a whole human design education just on my channel. And then in the videos I've been doing more recently, I've been really looking at the astrological alignments that are happening from a human design point of view. When we put astrology here together with human design, we get a really different view than you would get from an astrologer, because the human design system, the body graph, is actually inside of our energy field. And so the perspective that we can get from human design is the way that the energies in our bodies, literally in our energy fields, are changing with the transits, which is not something that we get so much with astrology. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chart for the lunar eclipse that's coming up on the 27th, 28th. The first thing that jumps out to me about this chart is that there are 4 centers that are defined and there are 3 channels that are defined. That's really unusual. We had a transit recently where we had 4 centers defined. That was really unusual, but now we've actually got 3 channels. So we're going to dive into the specifics of a lot of that today. But from a zoomed out point of view, just taking a look at this means that there's a lot of extra energy coming to probably just about everybody. So it's a really great practice for you to take a screenshot of what I'm doing here with this lunar eclipse and then compare it to your own human design chart to see what extra definition is coming in for you. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you don't know how to apply the transits to your own human design, or if you want to go deeper with that practice, if you've kind of been playing around with it, I have recently released my Mastering the Neutrino Stream, Understanding the Human Design Transits program. It's a self-study course, and you can get it now, and it's on sale. It's 50% off as a kind of a, bring it out into the world special. So I'll put the link for that down below if you want to check it out, but it will give you everything you need to be able to apply the transits to your own human design chart. And also I've given you all of the moons for the rest of 2026 to make it really easy for you, so you can also move forward into the future if you want. So I encourage you to get that if you want to either begin or deepen your human design journey with the transits. So when we have these kind of centers that are lit up in a chart, it means that everybody is going to be experiencing this definition. we have that right down at the bottom of the chart. We see that 4130. I have talked about this extensively. I'm not going to go into it more. I'll put a link down below to other videos you can find to find out more about it, because it's a particularly long transit, because the North Node, which we're also going to talk about today, is a part of that channel, and then Pluto is the other part. So they both have a longer transit. So that means we've got the root center and the emotional solar plexus down at the bottom of the chart, and then the brown triangle on the right-hand side pointing inward, which is actually on the left-hand side of the body. And so everyone's going to have a defined emotional solar plexus. Everyone's going to have a defined root. And then now we actually have another channel that's also lighting this up, which is the 3955, which I'm going to talk about extensively today. But it's also going from the root to the emotional solar plexus. There's a lot of energy going between those two centers and through those channels right now. This is a particularly powerful, energetic time, and I would encourage you to really dive into this and see what it means for you. So this lunar eclipse is also a full moon. Lunar eclipses are always on the full moon because the shadow of the earth is going across the face of the full moon, right? And that's how we get that rosy kind of reddish color on the moon. And then it moves on. And this is a partial eclipse, but it's no less potent because of that. And eclipses are always associated either with the south node or the north node because they line up in the sky. And this one is a north node eclipse. The solar eclipse that happened earlier in the month and the new moon in Leo was a south node eclipse. So the eclipses always travel in pairs, and one is a south node eclipse and one is a north node eclipse. And this particular one is the north node eclipse. The north node is the energy that we're moving towards. Sometimes it's called your destiny. And I have reported on this, as I said earlier, because the north node has been in that gate 30. And that gate 30 is very intense. It's the most intense gate in the chart. And so we're really having a lot of energy coming to us about what are we destining ourselves for, right? What are we moving towards? Are we able to hold on to the vision that we get from the gate 41, Pluto in that gate 41? Can we hold on to it and let the energy build until it's the right time for that energy to be released and to send us off into our destiny? And so this is an important kind of backdrop to what else I'm going to talk to you about today in terms of what's going on with this eclipse. And so the Earth and the Moon are both in that gate 55. Now the Earth is going to be there for 5 or 6 days because the Sun and the Earth always stay in a gate for 5 to 6 days. So they're there. But then the Moon's going to come along and give it an extra charge, and that's what's going to create the full moon, and it's what's going to create the eclipse. Here we've got that moon coming in and then further activating what's going on with that Earth in that gate 55. The gate 55 is on the emotional solar plexus, so it's emotional energy. It means we need to have time to be able to lean into it in order to get clarity. It's in the knowing circuit, so it's highly intuitive. It's not rational or logical or strategic or anything like that. It's highly intuitive, and it's also part of the evolutionary impulse that's running through the human design system. It's known as the gate of abundance in traditional human design, or the gate of faith in traditional human design. And I like to consider this as kind of the I always have what I need when I need to have it gate, because what is true abundance? A true abundance is not about accumulation. It's not about stockpiling. It's not about hoarding. It's not about always making sure that we have more and more and more in order to feel safe, which unfortunately is kind of what mostly of us have been conditioned into. We've been conditioned away from the truths of the living world, which is generally we have what we need when we need to have it. And we don't need to have it before then, right? If you look out into the living world, that is the way that pretty much everything lives out there. And yet we have been conditioned away from that fundamental truth and been sent more into scarcity, right? That there isn't enough for everybody, which unfortunately is a marker of Western culture and the age of empire that we're fortunately evolving out of. But we've had a lot of conditioning around this belief that there isn't enough for us, and so we need to accumulate and hoard and get more and more because there isn't enough for everyone. So I need to make sure that I have mine, and I need to make sure like my family or my close beloveds have what they have as well. So that's not living in faith, that's living in fear. So the Gate 55 really asks us, how can we live more in a state of faith where we recognize that we have what we need when we need to have it, and we don't need to really, like I said, be hoarders. And unfortunately, hoarding is, kind of an epidemic here in the United States for sure. And so if you find yourself hoarding that, if you find that it's really hard for you to let go of things, or if you find you get really, really nervous if you don't think you have enough for retirement and you're like 30 years old, try to relax, right? Try to relax and realize that the more that you can live in a state of faith, and realize that this is a very spiritual gate, right? The faith is about being aligned with super consciousness, which is what the knowing circuit does. It plugs directly into super consciousness, and realizing that you're going to get the inner guidance that you need to know where to go, what to do, so that you have what you need when you need to have it. And in this particular alignment, we happen to have the Gate 39 also lit up. The Gate 39 is known as provocation in traditional human design, or recalibration in quantum human design. So that's the mate of the Gate 55, which is why we have that whole channel going from the root to the emotional solar plexus. Provocation, being provocative. I have this gate defined in my chart. I know it really well. And its best expression is to really provoke us out of scarcity into abundance or into faith, right? To kind of poke at us and say, can we recalibrate ourselves to recognize that in the realm of spirit, in the realm of energy, there is never scarcity. There's always enough for everyone, for whatever it is that we want to do. And so we need to kind of provoke our deeply held belief in scarcity so that we can open up and recalibrate our psyches to live in a more elevated state, raise our frequency so that we can be feeling all of the extra energy that is, and all the guidance that is constantly coming to us from our higher selves, from the neutrino streams, from any of the allies that you might work with in non-physical. I work with lots of different allies in non-physical. So there's always a lot of support available for us. But when we get locked in our minds and we have this impression and then we go into fear that there isn't enough, right? Then we can really go into a downward spiral. So this whole channel here is kind of coming at us and saying, okay, what is your faith about abundance? What is your faith about what you have and when you need to have it? And do you need to provoke yourself, right? To be provocative, to say, you know what? I can really recalibrate and have a new reality. And then, as I said earlier, the Gate 55 is also primary in the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is the background energy that we're currently moving into. We've been moving into it for decades. It's going to continue for quite a while. These cycles are like 400 years long. So this is not something that's going to just turn over immediately. However, that energy is definitely coming in and moving us into that Gate 55, which is where the sun is. And so we want to be able to shine our light out into the world based in this understanding that we have what we need when we need to have it. And as I said, it's emotional, it's intuitive, it's not logical. You can't think your way into this. You can't calculate your way into this, right? You can't strategize your way into this. It doesn't live in that realm. It lives in the realm of spirit. And so the more that you can work with this energy now, the more that you can find what's in your way. And you might even pull out your journal and write for a few minutes about, gosh, what are my beliefs about abundance and having what I need when I need it? And what are my beliefs about scarcity? And how do those beliefs show up in my daily life, right? I mean, I would love to hear from you in the comments about how you have experiences around that. Do you notice that you tend to kind of go into that contraction around feeling like you don't have enough? I do worry about that a lot, because if that's the case, write about that and see, like, did you have an early life experience, or were your parents in scarcity a lot? Was the whole community you were part of living in scarcity a lot? Many do, right? And so what is your backstory, if you will, that is helping to continue to fuel that anxiety that you might have about scarcity, about not having what you need, and see if you can kind of, unpack it if you need to, or just breathe and release it. Ask your higher self to help you to just release this so that you can expand more into that feeling that you are going to always have what you need when you need to have it. Interestingly enough, the sun, which is on the opposite side of the mandala from where the earth is, so like the sun and the earth are always opposite each other, is in the gate 59. And the gate 59 is known as sexuality in traditional human design, or sustainability in quantum human design. So this is a primary life force energy gate, right? It's on the sacral center. And sure, it can be sexual energy, but it can also just be life force energy. And the question that we want to ask ourselves is, are we acting in sustainable ways with our energy? And it's wonderful that they're paired with the gate 55, because the gate 55 is like, relax in knowing that you will have what you need when you need to have it. And that can enable you to act in a sustainable way with your energy, rather than over functioning from fear, right? Just doing, always trying to get more, always trying to accumulate more, always trying to make sure from that state of fear, right? Instead, to be able to, like, I can operate in a sustainable way. I'm grounding myself, right? This is the earth. I'm grounding myself in this sense that I always have what I need, that I live in an abundant universe, and that the earth is abundant, and that everything I need is going to come to me, and that can make me sustainable, and I can shine the awareness of that out into the world. So we talked briefly about the channel 39 to 55. I don't want to note that it is Mars that is lighting up that 39. So Mars in his higher expression is the spiritual warrior, but Mars can also be the god of war when he's in his kind of immature, toxic, masculine expression. So you want to take a look at that, because provocation can be just really annoying, right? If it's just being provocative just for the sake of being provocative, that's not helpful. But if you are embracing Mars as the spiritual warrior, he can help you to recalibrate more around that state of abundance and living in a state of faith. Okay, so we talked about the, these two channels, and we talked about the emotional solar plexus and the root center. And I will just say, like, for me, my emotional solar plexus is open. So when it gets defined by transits like that, that's a big change for me, right? And so you want to look at, are either of these centers open in your chart, and are they going to get defined? And then you want to pay attention to, and maybe even do some journaling around, how is your emotional tone changing? How's your experience of your emotions changing? If you have an open root, do you feel a little bit more grounded? Do you feel a little bit more like you can manage your time effectively? You can manage your work a little more effectively. So that's a great thing to just kind of pay attention to, because that's one of the benefits of following the transits. So let's take a look at this other channel that is being lit up. So this other channel is going from the spleen to the throat. It's the 5720. The channel 5720 is known as the brainwave in traditional human design, or the channel of prediction in quantum human design. And it's going to be lit up here. Uranus is in that gate 20. Uranus has been in that gate 20. Uranus is going to be in that gate 20. Uranus stays in a gate for a while. But there's going to be two different times when this channel is lit up. So let me give you the dates. So Venus is going to be in the gate 57 from August 23rd to August 28th. So like a 5-day period. And then in September, Mercury is going to be in the gate 57 from September 20th until the 23rd. So during those two different periods of time, we're going to have this whole channel lit up. So let's just talk about the gate 57 for a minute. So the gate 57 is known as intuition in traditional human design, or instinct in quantum human design. The spleen center is the center for instinct or intuition, the immune system and right timing, and all of the spleen gates, because it is the center for instinct, they all have a fear associated with them. And the fear of the 57 is the fear of the future. So you want to watch out while the gate is lit up, particularly if it's not defined in your chart, but even if it is to be really paying attention if you start to fall into the fear of the future. Now, the good thing about the splenic gates is usually if you recognize that fear, you usually can kind of walk right through it, right? You can just be like, oh, that's just my fear of the future. You know, I have this defined in my chart, so I've practiced this a lot. I'm like, oh, that's just my gate 57. I don't really have to give my energy to that, right? And I know that there are many things that are happening in our world today that you might think, yeah, I could have fear of the future around that. And I understand that, but realize that the more that you allow your energy to go in that direction, the more you're going to pull that future to you, the one that you're afraid of. Whereas if you can release that and you can be stepping into a vision of the future, right, which that 4130 is going to help you do, right? Pluto is right there, you know, in the gate of imagination saying, you know what, you could have a vision that you really liked right now. If you want to give your energy to that instead, right, and intuitively feel into that, then that is what you're going to pull towards you more. And then Uranus, of course, is the god of sudden change, of awakening, right? It's very kind of that lightning bolt kind of energy. So when we have that energy going from the spleen to the throat, it gives you more opportunity, for example, to articulate or to express your intuition. And Uranus can be there to kind of help break up any fear that you've got. If you're falling into the fear of the future, you know, Uranus can just be like, you know, let go of that. You don't need that. That's not helpful right now for your awakening. So know that you can call on Uranus here if you're feeling like you're falling into the fear of the future to help you to break that apart so that you can step into a fuller expression of your intuition. And this whole channel is in the knowing circuit also, just like that 3955, which is what we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of the knowing circuit, a lot of individual circuitry lit up in this particular chart. I know sometimes individual circuitry can get kind of a bad reputation. Ra had a kind of negative view of individual circuitry. He thought it was very selfish. He said it was very melancholic. And I just want to say, as somebody who has a predominance of individual circuitry, that's not really how I experience it. I mean, I know you could go that way. You could. That would be what I would consider either the disempowered or the shadow expression if you went that way. But I think of it more as kind of self-referential. Like, I know I'm a person who references my own sense of what's true, my own sense of, you know, what I can discern for myself. I mean, I take in input from lots of different people and lots of different wisdom traditions and so on, but I'm still pretty self-referential. But I don't consider that selfish. I consider it kind of self-contained. And self-containment can be a huge blessing, because what it means is that when you learn how to go inside and you learn how to really connect with and receive guidance from your higher self, then you are not so thrown around by what's going on outside of you. You don't need a lot of other people's opinions. You rely on your own opinions. You rely on what you get from the inside, right? And so it's something that you can cultivate in yourself. And with all of this energy in the knowing circuit, I would highly encourage you to do that. That gate 55 is also going to support you to, you know, develop a spiritual practice if you don't already have one, because you want to be, again, connecting with super consciousness through that knowing circuit, so that you are not so thrown around by the machinations of all of the different people who are trying to control the dominant narrative right now. Just the different struggles that are going on in the human world right now, and there are many. One of the very best things we can do is learn how to be more self-referential and to go inside and connect with the truth that is just waiting for you to tune in. Two other things I want to make you aware of is, and the first one is that Neptune is going to move back into the gate 25 on August 23rd until March 19th, 2027. So it's going to be there for a while. Neptune had gone into the gate 17 and then had retrograded back through the 17 and is now moving forward, came forward through the 17 and is back in the 25. And then it's going to be there, like I said, for another 8 months or so. So the gate 25, I've talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to go into depth about it, but the gate 25 is known as the love of spirit, and it's on the G center, and it is a beautiful, beautiful place for Neptune to be, because Neptune is all about our spiritual growth and all about connecting to the vastness, to the Varanya, which is the great cosmic womb, or into the unified field. And when Neptune is in that gate 25, this is just an incredible support for you for developing your relationship with your higher self, which of course this is the main purpose of the Sovereign Sisterhood, which is my online community, where we do all kinds of different practices to help us to connect with our higher selves, and that this is what really makes our human design come alive, which is when we're connecting with spirit rather than with our conditioning and with what's going on in the human world, but be able to tap in more. So Neptune in the 25 is going to really help you to do that. Then Jupiter at the end of the month on August 30th is going to move into the gate 7 out of the gate 33, and it's going to be there through most of September until the 26th. So the gate 7 is right here on the throat, and it's in the logic circuit, and it is part of the channel of the alpha. Now, Jupiter was in the gate 31, which was on the throat center. So that's that whole channel is it goes from the throat center to the G center. And the 31 is like the new earth leader. That's what I like to call it. Can be authoritarianism, but I like to call it the new earth leader. So I did a whole video about that earlier on, about Jupiter lighting up that gate 31. But now Jupiter is coming into really another leadership gate, and it's the mate of that. It's that whole leadership channel, and it's not. And it has this quality of collaboration now when we think of it in its most empowered and awakened expression. And Jupiter is going to be expanding the energy of our ability to collaborate. And I think that this is, again, an indicator of our shift from kind of top-down hierarchical forms of society as well as leadership into a more horizontal type of organization, right? A horizontal structure where we're collaborating more with each other. So during this month, most of the month of September, this will be a really great time. And you might want to sit down and write about this for a minute, pull out your journal, and just think about it for a little bit. It's like, what collaborations am I currently a part of? What collaborations would I like to be a part of? What collaborations might I want to start during this time? And what collaborations do I think need to expand? Because Jupiter is going to expand whatever that is. So you want to make sure that the collaborations that you're in are juicy for you, they're supportive for you, they're not so draining for you, but that they're actually giving you energy and making you feel more and more positive about the future. And if that's not happening, you might want to see if you can change it, or you might want to look for another place where you can partner with other people. I think collaboration is just so important. It is actually pillar number 7 of feminine sovereignty of my book about the 8 pillars, because I see this as a fundamental structure in a fundamental way for us to be interacting with each other as sovereign beings as we're moving into this new earth. It's a foundational way for us to interact, is to realize we are all in this together. And I even named this mutually beneficial collaborations, because unfortunately too often we sometimes have been either hoodwinked into or manipulated into or coerced into collaborations that didn't work out so well for us, right? And, we can look all around the world for different, agreements that have been made or treaties that have been made, that didn't frankly go so well for one of the parties. And so we want to create mutually beneficial win for everybody. How can we find a way that these things are benefiting everybody. And we absolutely can when we recognize that we are all in this together, and that when other people win, we win as well. And everything, I love that phrase, right? It's like a rising tide raises all boats. I love that one. So it's like we want to raise the energy for collaboration so that we start to live in a world where we make that our priority, that everybody wins, rather than just myself. So we are in a time of prophecy, and many things are happening. Many things are breaking down and falling away. Many other new things are being seeded. And think of this lunar eclipse as a seeding point. We've been moving through this whole year with seed point after seed point after seed point. And I want to underscore that even though, yes, we say this happens in this moment in time, it doesn't just come and go like that. It actually kind of set something in motion that can continue for months or even years. And this is true for all of the full moons and the new moons. And it's particularly true when we have eclipses. So know that this is something that you can continue to work with. And as I said, that gate 55 is part of the incoming energy. It's where the sun is in the cross of the sleeping phoenix. So this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And this is a great opportunity for you to begin to break out of, or to extend the way you've already been breaking out of, that belief in scarcity. And it's a deep one, folks. I get it. I mean, I have done so much work around this. So I get it. There are many layers to it. So be gentle with yourself. Don't judge yourself if you find yourself falling back into it. It's just every time you see that, let's say, let's do something different. Let's find a way to believe that we'll always have what we need when we need to have it. And that can just be your mantra from now on, that you are going to be able to live in a world of magic, a world of synchronicities, a world where you as your personality don't have to make everything happen, when you're aligned with your higher self, when you're aligned with spirit, when you're aligned with the evolutionary impulse that's moving through the solar system and through the planet and through your human design. When you align with that, everything starts to fall into place and your life becomes much easier. It is so worth it to learn about what the transits are bringing you and learning how to apply them to your own human design. So if you don't already know how to do that, I highly encourage you to check out my Master the Neutrino Stream, Understanding the Human Design Transits. This is a program people have asked for the last couple of years, and I finally pulled it together. And I'll put it here at the end of the video, and it'll be down below. And I would love to hear how it lands for you and to support you in moving along your journey with the human design transits. Many, many blessings, my friends. Much love.